Hey guys, I think you are going to really benefit from today's session. We jumped into the topic of breaking the bottleneck, how we as leaders can often be the thing that is getting in our own way, in our own business's way, or in our team's way. We want to lead smarter and we want to scale faster. So today, Joe and I are going to dive deep with our right hands, Sara, Minty, and Whitney Ganci, and we are going to talk all things scaling and growth through systems, processes, and operations. Doesn't sound sexy, but it actually was an amazing call. Take a listen. Well, welcome to RocketFuel. Love seeing you guys. I actually really love that song. I think that was actually on my playlist of recommended songs, and you guys are probably like, what was that? Welcome to RocketFuel, guys. We love this session. This is our Pillar Weekly Mastermind, hosted by United. United is open to all brands and brokerages, and we're just so happy that you guys have decided to join us today. Let's just make sure we got this chat is working good. I'm just fixing my screen here. Good morning, Irvine, sunny Irvine, California. I love it. Okay, guys, we're really excited for today's conversation. This week is actually a session that's supposed to be focused on systems and technology and things like that. And I thought there would be no better way to do that than to really just pull back the curtain on what actually runs a profitable, thriving real estate business and team. And if you're going to pull back that curtain, there's no better way to do that than to talk to the ones that actually run all of that happening behind the scenes, which I don't actually know why we ever talk about operations as behind the scenes, because it's actually the thing that, if we can just get everybody muted, it's actually the thing that like drives the entire business forward. The one thing I wanted to really emphasize today is like, guys, although both Joe and I and Sara and Whitney, like we run real estate teams, everything that we're going to talk about is applicable to you in running your sales business, whether you're a solo agent, whether you're an agent on a team, whether you're running a team, whether you want to start a team. This is applicable for absolutely everybody. And a lot of the things that we're going to talk about are all things that I mean, Joe, I'll let you speak on that, but I can say that Sara and I implemented like right from the very beginning, when it's just literally her and I. So we're excited to have this conversation with you guys. Joe, do you want to jump in and say anything before I introduce these guys?
I think teams is an interesting topic because we speak about real estate teams as if it's a unique concept. The reality is every single real estate practitioner is part of a real estate team. Now, your team may look a little bit different, meaning your team is primarily you, a lender, a home inspector, right? Like somebody who makes closing gifts or whatever. But it's like everyone that is in the real estate industry is either a part of or runs a team in some form or fashion. So what we're talking about is the expansion of that into the having of buyer's agents, the having of seller's agents, and things like that. So I just think we need to, as real estate agents, wake up and realize there really is.
Oh, we lost him.
I disconnected.
Oh, is he like totally gone?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was just muted. That's so funny. All right. Well, you want to know what we're going to do today? We're going to talk about breaking the bottleneck, how to lead smarter and scale faster, and how the roles of either a business owner, a team leader, whatever you want to call yourself, and an operational partnership can actually drive the freedom, the retention, and the results that you're looking for in your business. And I think one of the most important things that we should do to start is by talking about how contrasting how most people think that leadership or running a real estate business looks like. Like, I have to be in full control. I have to do all the things myself. You kind of like almost like do what I did at the very beginnings, where you put yourself in this hero mode because you think that you can do it best, or you think you should do it best. And what actually works is sharing that load, sharing that ownership through systems and partnership with the right people, and then most of all with trust. And so in order to have this conversation effectively, we've invited my personal operations guru, which Sara is now the VP of all of our companies, Sara Minty, and then Joe's right hand, who is Whitney. I'm trying to see where Whitney is on my screen. There she is. And I'm just going to let you guys really quickly introduce yourselves, and then we're going to dive in.
Go for it, Whitney.
All right. Well, so Joe and I have been together for 11 years. I started with him. I started from the bottom, really. So I've been able to really grow from what my initial roles were like.
You were a
I think
TC initially.
Yeah, I
Oh, he's
was
back.
lead
He's
genning a
back.
little bit. I was TCing. I was doing anything and everything that they needed. Um, And so fast forward, I am now the COO of all of their companies and absolutely love it. But they bring all the ideas, I bring all the execution, and definitely need some trust involved with all of that. But it's been a wild ride. It's been sometimes uncomfortable, but um, always worth it and always really amazing for the things that we've been able to accomplish. It's I wouldn't trade it for anything. But yeah, so that's me. 11 years with Joe and Taylor, and wouldn't have it any other way.
Okay, what about you, Sara? Where are you starting from?
Yeah, so we are in a similar time frame. We are just shy of our 11th anniversary together, which is pretty insane. There must have been something magical happening
That
about
makes
10 or 11 years ago in terms of
that
like
makes me sound so old right now. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. And we're in completely different regions, completely different spaces, but it's the same type of thing. I didn't get hired as a TC. I actually got hired with the intention of growth. Amy was really intentional of bringing me onto what I mean, it's obviously changed, but onto a growth path and onto a vision of scaling a real estate team, and with like the org chart and being like, this is the direction I want to go, because she's always future thinking. And I see myself as the executioner. So if she has an idea, my job is to implement it. And that's definitely evolved over the years. At the beginning, it was kind of like very guided by her. And we're going to talk about it today, a little more scrappy than it is today, a little less consistent, a little less predictable. And now we each have our lane. We have a rhythm and we know what we're going to do. So I run the operations of our team and any of the operation structures of what she needs to get done. I help her with her brand, all of that stuff. And it's come from a lot of mutual trust and a lot of hard work and some good years and some tougher years.
For sure. Okay, why don't we do this? So what I wanted you guys to know is like Sara's actually going to take the helm of this conversation, and she's going to she has some great thoughts and input into, you know, where we should go with this. But I think the first thing that we should talk about is the differentiator with the visionary and the integrator role, because that is something that we didn't know right out of the gate, Sara, and we had to kind of evolve into that. So I'll let you touch on that really quickly.
Yeah, I think so often people are looking at like as ops support, or if you're a solo agent looking at like hiring your first admin or hiring people to help you out, you're looking at it as just that, just support. And I think you need to flip it and think about it as a system. You need to have a system that's scalable, repeatable, consistent. And so when we start to think about it that way, you go, okay, who that's got to be different than me. Each successful company, and this is based off the Gino Wickman RocketFuel book, has two parts, right? One is the visionary, that is someone that's idea focused, that has the goal, they're the drivers, right? It's really hard to be the visionary if you're also in the business. There's burnout, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of am I going to get this all done? I don't have enough hours in the day. Then you need something that is going to integrate, whether that's a person or like a program or something that you're plugging into. You need that person or that structure. And so that's where I thought it was really unique to have Whitney and Joe versus us, because we have a very similar setup where Amy is the visionary. That's very
For
obvious
sure.
based on her growing united and all of this community. She comes up with 1,000,001 ideas, and some of them are great, some of them are crazy. No offense, but they're all with the goal of getting us bigger in terms of challenging us, making sure that we're always one step ahead of where the industry is going. And my job is to filter and figure out how to get it done. And so. Yeah, that's basically it. Whitney, do you have anything else to add in terms of like how you guys do the visionary integrator role?
Similar things for the most part, because we came on at a different time than it is today. We did a lot of learning by pain. Um, and so 100%, not all the time is it a person that you need, but it is something if you have bigger goals than just for the average agent, 12 transactions a year, you're going to need something, right? And sometimes that's just a TC, or sometimes that is a program that really helps you take the brunt of the stuff so you can focus on what you're amazing at, what's going to drive your business to the next level. So we have we have been able to learn from all of our past experiences and growth, whether they're mistakes or just total wins. And it's given us a lot of great insight onto what that could look like, even for whether team leaders like Joe and Amy or the individual agent. It's just a necessary step.
And
So guys, let's dive into like leadership bottlenecks because you're both in seats where you could like regularly probably feel like uh, I'm in Sarah's way or Joe is in your way, or what did that look like when we were and now what does it look like on a day-to-day basis? And even sometimes I know I can see myself reverting and you know, slowing Sarah down sometimes. So, Sarah, where would you like to take this conversation as far as that goes? Because I think this is one of the most critical elements that we as agents and leaders can look at is removing ourselves from what's holding us back in our own businesses.
yeah, and I think that's a best place to start is like everyone on the screen can identify very obvious ways in which they become the bottleneck. You want to be involved in every decision. You have to be involved in every decision. You don't trust that anyone's going to do it as well as you will. But there's also, I think we've identified a lot of ways that each of us can be a bottleneck. And over the years, like it's looked like this. Let me just dive into it. The very first one I thought of when I was thinking about, okay, like when is Amy a bottleneck for us? And a lot of times it's every idea becomes a now project until we systematized our rollout and how we're going to schedule things and do things. Every kind of day, it was a new idea in my inbox, being like, "Can we implement it this week? Can we do that this week?" Because often as leaders, you forget the rollout time takes a long time, and the implementation takes a lot longer than you think. In a corporate structure, this goes through like 7 different iterations and 7 different board meetings and that sort of stuff, where there's always a conversation and things get rolled out really slowly. In real estate, there's not really any rules. And so things can happen really, really fast, which is my favorite part of working in real estate, but it's also the most challenging because you kind of are always on to the next project without fully mapping things out. And so one of the most effective things for us is we really started to map out what our quarterly goals were and what our annual goals were and be on the same page. And then I can pace against that versus getting a whole bunch of ideas and being like so overwhelmed because I'm like, I don't know how many hands she thinks it has. I don't know how to implement it. And so then also, in that sense, projects will always become dependent on energy. Like when Amy was in like a conference mode and had all these ideas, and we all do this, right? Like we come back with and go like, oh my gosh, I saw these 15 things, I have to implement it. All of the goals and objectives become based off your energy versus based off the structure or what you actually need. It gets based off what you're hearing, the noise versus rolling it out. And it's the same thing as a solo agent. You come in, you'll leave this RocketFuel probably with 1 million things that you have to change in your business. And then you start to go, oh, I'm going to do it all tomorrow. And it doesn't quite work like that. And I think we all know this. It's impossible for a leader to take a vacation without disruptions. And so at the very beginning, I don't think Amy ever took a vacation. She's like a workhorse, but it was also really difficult because there was nothing I could do without her approval, or there's nothing that the team could do without her approval. And so that was a really challenging structure to work within because I needed to message her. And it was, and she wanted to hear it. Like it wasn't because she was annoyed by the interruptions, but that created quite a bottleneck. And in the same sense, I can become a bottleneck too, because when you get a lot of ideas all the time, I can become overproductive, right? I'm thinking about we now have a really strong operations team. We have 5 other staff that work for us. I can become the gatekeeper to their workload and be like, no, no, we need more time. We're not ready yet, that sort of stuff. And so that's where I can bottleneck things. I can, I want things to be perfect before we roll it out. So there's also the sensitivity to we're not ready. We need to like look this over 15 more times before we get in front of the team, that sort of stuff. And then that creates the problem because then Amy will stop asking me for things because she thinks I'm maxed out or, she doesn't think I have the capacity for it. So that's kind of where I see bottlenecks created. And then we'll get into like the systems we've put in place to prevent that. But Whitney, where do you guys have bottleneck with you and Joe?
Well, really quick, Sarah, I think the biggest bottleneck is people just not being honest with themselves. Like the reality is, integration is sexy, being a visionary is sexy, integrating is not, until integrating becomes very sexy because it's everything that gets done. But the issue is most of us aren't honest enough with our own skill sets to know if we best fit in the visionary or integrator role. And if we are trying to integrate our own vision, we're really going to struggle. And so I think if you're listening to this and you're feeling overwhelmed and like like you feel like you're on an island and like you're trying to accomplish things and nothing ever gets done, it's because you probably haven't really gone through the process of evaluating yourself to determine whether or not you best fit the visionary or integrator role. And so I don't know, Aim, how you see yourself, or I mean, I'll tell you, I think Whitney is, and I'm confident with Sara as well, just like A-level integrator. Like Whitney is so good at taking the crazy ideas I have, the concepts I have, telling me what will work or will not work and why they will or won't work. Where if I was just coming up with vision and then trying to integrate, in the process of integration, I stop envisioning and like creating. And it's like, I think so many entrepreneurs just struggle through that cycle of they have some vision, they work on the integration, it doesn't work or it does work, and then they create more vision, which then struggles the next integration. And it's like you go so much further if you properly understand not just the relationship of visionary to integrator, but which role you excel at. Because the last thing I'll say, most top producing people can do both. Like they could integrate, they could create vision, but I firmly believe, just from a mathematical standpoint, if you try to do both, you are at best 50% good at both of them. In reality, you're probably going to favor one side or the other, and you're either not going to create great vision, maybe 20% of you, so you leave 80% to integrate. But in order for this thing to really fly, somebody needs to 100% create vision and concepts and ideas to take the business forward. And somebody needs to spend all of their time integrating and evaluating and making things happen.
I think you nailed it, because that was actually me at the beginning, because I remember once taking a very like detailed DISC assessment, and the company that was reviewing it with me were like, "Ooh, you are an interesting D-type personality," because I have a lot of like critical thinking and operational mind as well. And I think that created even a stronger bottleneck for Sara and I, because I actually have strong operational skills and just like ways of doing things. And that didn't allow me to give Sara like the platform and the agency to run, on her own, as quickly as we needed her to. So,
and it's probably the worst type of vision creation is when you create vision, you give it to an integrator, And then the entire time you nitpick the way the integrator
And you
integrated.
micromanage the whole thing. Yeah, for sure. And a lot of it is building trust and really and relinquishing control and knowing that it's not always going to be perfect. It's not perfect when I do it. It's not going to be perfect when Sara does it. It's way more perfect when she does it, believe me. But all it is finding that, and I think maybe that's something that we could talk about too, is like finding when is that trust. When do you feel like you've gotten to that level? Like Whitney, when did you know that there was like enough of a trust in your partnership with Joe that you could just run with things behind the scenes and know that things were gonna be as smooth as you wanted and needed them to be?
Well, I think I'm blessed because they trusted me pretty early on. I mean, I think in my standard, they trusted me pretty early on, and I take that trust extremely serious. And so I earn it every single day, and it just builds and builds and builds. But um, that is the foundation, I think, for Joe and Taylor, and even to today. So Sara said something about if you feel she's too busy working on something because she's in the weeds or she's being a bottleneck for somebody else, that you notice that and you respectfully stop giving her some stuff. And we take it personal. I don't know about you, Sara, but I'm like, no, I can handle it. But it's from day to day to day, it is making sure that I'm executing on what it is that I'm given. Because if I don't execute on it, then that trust, it's like an ebb and flow. It's like, okay, well, I gave this to her and maybe I'm not seeing any progress on it or whatnot. They're really good about not nitpicking. They give something and then they just check in, or I'll check in with them and give them updates as needed. But in the beginning, it was so I was in a unique position where I started from literally ground zero and I've worked my way up. So I not only have so much knowledge on all of the different components of our business, but um, it really kind of allowed them to see how I work in each different category. So fast forward today, we have different leaders in our organization that are responsible for different things, and so I need to manage them properly and make sure that they're executing on those roles. But sometimes pivoting, sometimes pivoting too quickly, right? You guys as visionaries are always living in that future state. You're thinking about what is possible, where we need to go. And sometimes when the fruits of the labor haven't shown themselves quick enough, then we want to pivot to make sure that we're, getting the ROI or whatever the case is, that we're actually seeing that. So sometimes that could be a bottleneck amongst our team. And it's like a double-edged sword because pivoting is so important and critical, making sure that you're ending up with the ultimate goal that you're looking for, whether that is leads generated, deals closed, or just your own production goals, right? So I will say that, but also keeping track of the ideas, kind of going back, Sara, what you were saying, where there's you go through this quarter, you have these quarter goals, and you're making sure you're staying on topic for that quarter. You're being very purposeful and focused. That is really important, but it doesn't mean that you guys are no longer visionaries during that period of time. So it's just really kind of weeding out. You're taking all of these ideas that your visionary is giving you, maybe putting them in a parking lot, checking in to see when they're applicable, when they're not. But to Joe's point, to circle back, I think it's really important for me to be very honest with myself of what I'm capable of, and what lane that I do live in. I'm not a visionary, so we don't cross over very often. But I do know when I know Joe is bottlenecking because he'll get in the weeds, or better yet, I know I'm bottlenecking because Joe will feel like he has to get in the weeds. So whenever I feel like he kind of has to come down from up high, I'm like, okay, let me reevaluate. Let's see why and where this bottleneck is happening so that he could feel free again and soar in that future state, just thinking about all these things.
Yeah. For anyone who is not, for anyone who feels like we're speaking like Star Wars or Harry Potter language right now, like if you read the book, RocketFuel, it gets deep into this concept. But for a real world application, what we're talking about is Walt Disney was the visionary creator of the Disney Corporation, but it would have 100% failed without Roy Disney. And another example is Steve Jobs and Woz with Apple, like two completely different individuals, completely different skill sets. Now, I would say, sadly, the visionaries a lot of times get the credit. Like when people talk about Apple, they talk about Steve Jobs. When we talk about Disney, we talk about Walt Disney. But Walt could never have been what he was without Roy. Apple would not exist without Woz, like, or someone playing Woz's role. So, for you guys as operators, the reason I always talk about like the honesty, the personal honest entrepreneurial honesty, is for people to figure out for themselves, like, and you could take tests that will help you decide this. But one thing is, where do I feel the most excited? Like it was hard for me for a while, Amy, to believe that there are people like Whitney who really enjoy integrating the vision that somebody creates. Because it's like, well, why wouldn't you just create vision? Like why wouldn't you just think, like, come up with concepts and be creative? And you could even tell when I start talking about that, my voice goes, I get more excited. And so it was hard for me to understand that there are truly people that enjoy integrators or integrating. That truly enjoy making those things happen. So
I think one of the things that I want to address right away is, at the number one thing that I was not afraid to do when I hired Sara 10 and a half years ago, and I'm sure when you hired Whitney, is like, you have to be prepared to spend. If you want good people, you have to spend money to get good people. And we're so often as visionaries afraid to cut into profit or to take a piece away from like building our own business or whatever it is. Like if you want to find a Whitney or a Sara, you have to, number one, get crystal clear on what that role is going to look like, and then find somebody that's going to help you evolve that role and add to that job description, things like that. But you have to be willing to pay for it. And so what I see a lot from real estate agents is they're like, oh, well, how do I get the best operational support, the best integration support by paying the least amount of money? And there are ways in which you can absolutely save money and resources with effective hires through virtual assistants and different things like that. But I always believe that if your business is going to grow and you're going to get to the level that you want to, that you're going to first have to have that integrator, because it says right in the book, it says you can either find that integrator in a business partner. Maybe you go into business with somebody and you become 50-50 partners, or you have to pay well and hire for that role. And so don't think this is something that can come as a result of just I'm going to hire a virtual assistant to be my integrator. That it doesn't work that way.
Well, it's very much more, if I could be crass, it's very much more a marriage than an escort service, in my opinion. Like to truly find to truly find that integrator. Like there are people in our world that are very dispensable to me. Like that, I'm like, yeah, I mean, if they leave, I don't care. Like Whitney is not that person. Whitney knows like our world would struggle greatly if she was not involved. And so like it is hard to dime store integrate. Yeah, you could get someone in India that knocks out some tasks for you. But if you truly want to take your business to that next level, like honestly on RocketFuel, you have to have a person of trust integrating for you. Now, the one thing too, though, Aim, there are partnerships where both people are visionaries. And that's for Taylor and I, we are both visionaries. And so we had to create multiple businesses to divide and conquer.
Yeah, exactly. You're both visionaries, but you're visionaries in different directions.
Different businesses. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me interrupt. Oh, I have
Yeah,
a
go.
quick question. I'm sure some of us are, some of the people on this call are wondering, knowing what you guys know now with an integrator, and thank you for speeding up some of the people that had some questions in the chat with the integrator process, is what would you say is the biggest difference from somebody that does tasks, like you said, Joe, like a virtual assistant versus an integrator? And what would you guys look for today if you lost a Sara or a Whitney, knowing what you know today?
I'll take this, and I just want to touch on before we dive into that is the hiring and when you're looking at it, because I see the chat and everyone's like, how do I start? Like, where do you go? And remember, the reason Whitney and I on this call is because it's been an over a decade relationship, and that's such a unique thing to find in the real estate space, and it is because of opportunity. Whitney and I aren't we're employees, right? And so at the same time, like, we don't control the company, and so that's a lot of risk for us because you guys have all these ideas and growth and have entrepreneurial mindset. I don't have an entrepreneurial mindset. It stresses me out to think like a lack of structure and that sort of thing. And so Amy has to provide that for me, and she has to give me security and opportunity and growth like that. And so when you're looking to hire someone like this, I didn't start with real estate experience. We did a really good job of making sure that I was very well immersed and saw the bigger picture outside of just my team. We did conferences. I was part of the bigger picture and bigger community like this RocketFuel, where you're seeing what's going on outside of just your bubble. And so when you're looking for someone to hire, you're not looking for an admin. I wouldn't say I'm the strongest admin. I mean, I can do a good report, but I'm a systems person. I look for solutions and ways to solve problems through systems, to make something that, in a sense, I'm kind of lazy, right? Like, if I can make my life easier by having it automated in some capacity, I'm going to do that. And that was right from the beginning, where Amy, I never came on and ran lockboxes around the city. I didn't do any of that. I came on with Amy going, I have growth plans. We need to recruit. We need to build like our marketing plan. We need to do X, Y, and Z. And so my first goal was to find staff to replace myself. We hired a marketing person within probably 6 months of me being there. And obviously, like, it was just her and I and one other person. Weren't profit centers. It wasn't like we had this huge salary bounty to choose from. It was just, our goal was growth. And we knew that risk had to come there. And my job was to take the measured risk and figure out where we have room to grow. So answering your question, look for someone system structured, look for someone that has big picture thinking, that gets excited about the end goal, that you have rhythm with too, because obviously if Amy and I didn't get along or didn't really, really deeply respect each other, we wouldn't be here after 10 years.
So somebody
Yeah.
asked,
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh, sorry. Somebody asked in the chat that said, oh, I'm not busy enough yet for a salaried integrator. How would I be busy? Or however, would I be busier if I hired a salaried integrator? An integrator position is a very serious role to take somebody away from either an existing job or an existing company to bring on to yours. So if you don't have a minimum of a 6 month salary in the bank to hire an integrator role, I would not even be considering it. And I would go backwards then to hire, if you have the budget, then for a VA or something that would at least take admin tasks off your plate so that you could focus on building your business and selling more real estate so that you could save more money to then hire the integrator role. If you can't go straight into that. When I hired Sara, I had her whole salary, 1 year of salary in the bank guaranteed. That was 10 years ago. So it was a totally different number than it would be in 2025 or 2026 going into that. So you need to have that same, because that role is such a serious role that you're bringing on. You do not want to, it's not an admin or a VA assistant that you could part ways with if it's not working after 3 to 6 months. You don't want to do that with an integrator. Now I understand with risk, but yeah, Joe.
Yeah, I would also say, like, maybe you don't ever need one. Like, maybe you're not a visionary. Like, guys, I'm kind of a psychopath, like, to some degree. Like, I don't think psychopath is the right word, but I am passionate and, like, I'm a wrecking ball. And Whitney will tell you, when I come into meetings, I'm like, why don't we just rethink everything? And I go crazy and, like, write stuff up on the board. Now, I'm not saying I'm the perfect archetype of what a visionary is, But it's like, I need an integrator because honestly, I want to build something bigger than just selling 15 houses a year. And like, I want to run a business. I want to retire. I enjoy spending time with my kids. Like, I have a big why. And the only way I can accomplish that why is by having somebody integrate my crazy thoughts. Because when I was just selling homes and having a couple of buyer's agents, like, I don't know that I needed someone to really integrate, because it was like, let me just buy leads from realtor.com and have people sell them homes. Like, there wasn't much integration. Amy and I are speaking at a really high level because Amy runs 5 businesses. I run 3 or 4 businesses in Taylor, with Taylor. And so it's like, we need someone to make our our goals, ambitions, our vision happen. Because Whitney will tell you, as a visionary, I will very quickly move on to the next vision. Like, I get bored. And so it's like, why do I need someone to integrate and to slow me down and calm me down? Because like, I'll literally change my complete mind on things. And so will Amy. Amy will come back to me sometimes and go, hey, I completely rethought this entire thing. And it can cause whiplash. Sarah's positioned to handle that. Whitney is positioned to handle that. So that's a long way of saying, if you're not that busy, you may need administration. You just may need an admin. But then there may come a time where you're like, dude, this one part of my business that I wasn't even thinking about is blowing up, and it fuels me and it's my passion. But I've got to do big things to make it happen. And I have a core business, and how do I do this and do that? If you ever get to, I can grow, but how can I do it? The question is ultimately, I can grow. Now, who can I either, as Amy said, partner with or hire? And that's when you know you need an integrator.
So, Sara, let's just actually go to some of the things that have been bottlenecks, or systems and things that we've put in place that have actually made our working relationship. And then Joe or Whitney, you can speak for you and Joe. What are some tactical things that have been game changers for us that have removed me and or helped us to be able to scale the way that we have?
Yeah, I think number one for us is communication and how we communicate. And it is actually something that we have to be so disciplined in, because both of us slip on it, and we can both email dump each other or just call, and then it's like a 2-hour call. And sometimes that has to happen. But if we're 90% of the time we follow our communication rules, we are thriving. And how we do that is first, we use a software. Asana is our number one. You can use any task management software. But in my experience, most visionaries like to know that they've been heard. And I say this with anyone coming on to work with Amy or work with our team, is that we just need to see that it's been heard and that you're on it. And that's the true in any business. And so when Amy and I are on a call or in a meeting, I'm diligently writing down everything, every idea, every concept, anything, just so that we can get it documented somewhere. Because even if we're not going to talk about it till May of next year, we need to have a source that we circle back to. It can create a lot of chaos and confusion, especially for a personality like Amy's, where she doesn't want to have to remember it again, right? She doesn't want to have to think like, oh my gosh, did they remember to do this? Are we going to do this? What's going on for X, Y, and Z down the road? And so we almost have our full calendar for next year planned out. We have a lot of things structured because we follow a cadence and that sort of rhythm. So Asana's our number one. We use that for our meeting agendas. And when it comes to meetings, I think so many people naturally are inclined to just sit down and have these 1-hour huge blocks in the calendar where they talk about everything that they're going to talk about, their whole agenda. And that can work. But most of you are real estate agents that are really busy and your hands are in a lot of pots. To get Amy to sit down for an hour meeting is probably not going to happen. And she could have just had 15 calls on a completely different topic. And so for me to start to go, okay, what are we doing for our team advance? Or where I'm like, let's talk about the team advance agenda. And she's like, I'm not in that headspace. What works best for us is we just do 15-minute check-ins. We schedule 1 or 2 a week where it's just going, what are the top 3 things we're going to talk about? What do I need answers on to keep moving? And what are we prioritizing this week or next week? That type of meeting structure works really, really well because you get the answers, you can keep moving, and you know people are on it, but you're not bogging them down with high concept meetings. Then
We used to have like every single week where we had like these big long hour-long meetings, and it was almost I almost started dreading them for a while. Like, and so now we do a big long meeting once a quarter, but we just touch base for 15 to 20 minutes twice a week, and it's so much better.
And using a platform like Asana really helps because then I can throw something on the agenda that I'm like, oh, when the next time I get to chat with Amy, I'll talk to her about this. But then sometimes Amy's in that zone. She'll do her like 2 a.m. sometimes like responses to me where then I can keep moving along and she can just dialogue right in the software to go, okay, that's a great idea, or let's choose a different venue, or let's do this. And it keeps us moving along without bogging down an entire meeting where we talk about our venue for something. And we also follow strict communication where I've gotten really good at this is that I don't bomb Amy with every issue that happens on the team. And that takes respect and that takes time. But there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that if it doesn't directly affect Amy or I don't need a decision from her on it, I'm not going to let her know. I'll let her know if it's going to change the course of the company or if it's more so something that is a culture thing, something going on with one of our team members, something where she needs to be involved or at least have awareness just as a leader. But other than that, like she doesn't need to know about certain minutiae on our deals or different things that are going on with the operations team where we're in the early days, every single issue I had, I wanted her to know and vice versa. And so we're very conscious to respect each other's kind of mental capacity and mind load and only kind of bring up issues if it's going to be a determining factor. And we have kind of a rule, and we learned this like from Sharon or someone where it was like, if it's longer than 2 or 3 sentences, it should be a phone call. Or it should be in a meeting. I'm never going to interrupt her day with something that's like a big issue or something going on where it's like I'm going to Slack message her a bunch of different things. And then on our team, if you've heard us speak about our North Group structure, is that we love Slack. We love communication tools like Slack because that allows us to dialogue really quickly across the entire team, but also between the two of us, where then you're not having 15 different communication pieces in different ways. So Asana and Slack, they're all archived. They're all stocked. We can search it. It always lives there. We do 90% of our communication in there and then maybe 10% in email or maybe 5% in email, 5% on a phone call.
Yeah. I think,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ian.
No, you go. It's okay.
I was just going to say, like, if Whitney and I have a bottleneck, I think it's really important for integrators to realize they are not the every how. Like Whitney needs who's also. And Sara mentioned that. Like there are times where Whitney can get herself into how mode. And a lot of times, sometimes it may happen with Amy and Sara, but sometimes it takes Taylor or I to say, hey, Whit, who should be handling this? Because because she really wants to be, she strives to do her job perfectly because she's so great at it. But there are times where she even gets into how mode that she has to also get into who mode. And so I think that if we have a big bottleneck, it can be all through, I'm not sensitive. Like in order to truly be a visionary, you cannot be sensitive to the integration process. Like you just have to create vision. And then the integrator has to, with integrity, prioritize and say like, hey, Joe, I can do that. That can be done, but it will come at the sacrifice of that. And I'm like, well, no way. We need to do that. Okay, cool. Well, should we shelf that? Yeah, let's just shelf it. And it's like, I can then move on. But to Sara's point, if I think I've been heard on all my ideas and no one tells me my ideas aren't going to be executed, then I'm waiting for execution. And then when I find out there's not execution, it frustrates me. So I think it's important, like, as with all relationships, that there's just an open line of communication and honesty. And like to Sara's point, not bogging down somebody with minutia, but also saying like, hey, that thing we were working on turned out to be a bigger project than I thought it was going to be. Let's get together at some point to talk about how to move forward. And then you get back in there and see if it can be done. So I think our biggest
It's
Go
just
ahead.
it's a forever work in progress, right? Like
Yeah.
we are Sarah and I, as recent as an hour and a half ago, tweaked a system in our company. Like we are always like
It's just like a marriage or any
you're
relationship.
you're constantly improving it. Like every
Right.
time we have either a new team partner join us or a team partner leaves for whatever reason, or we let somebody go, which actually hasn't been for years because we have amazing retention. But every time we do, we're always tweaking our contract. We're always improving like what we're communicating and the expectations we're setting. Anytime there's something where we're like, something in communication or something breaks down or we ask each other a question that we didn't understand, it's like, okay, there's a process issue here. Let's look at how do we tweak this system. As recently as this morning, it was like I emailed Sarah a question about something, she emailed me back, and then together we recognized, we're like, okay, this is a breakdown because this shouldn't have even been a question. So how do we automate this system? Or how do we automate this process? Not automate, sorry. How do we implement this process properly? I just want to address Laura's question because it's good. Is how much interaction does Sarah have with agents on the team from like an integrator role? Is there a sales manager that works more closely with the agents? So the integrator, in the way our company is set up, is very involved with our team partners, but strictly from an operational and like Sarah's title is not operations anymore; it is vice president. So she could have say and weigh in on the sales side or sales management if she needed to for whatever reason. But I am the sales manager of our team, so I still wear that hat. And she stays more in an integrator operational role as much as possible. So just to
And
answer your question, Laura.
And that's just coming down to recognizing strengths, as Joe was talking about, is you need to know where our skill sets are. And I'm not good at everything, right? And I'll talk to an agent about a contract, I'll talk to the agent about our op structure, about our resources, finding out where things are weak, in a sense, like just building a case for what we need to be working on in the next quarter. But at the same time, I'm not going to teach them how to get more leads. It's just not my skill set and it's not where I need to go. If Amy said we need a program to get more leads or some sort of opportunity for the agents, or we need to build a roadmap to teach them the steps, that's where I can take over. But it's not in the sales coaching element.
But you saying that, Sarah, is an amazing recognition. It is a superpower. Like, too many people try to say they can do everything when they really can't. Like, how refreshing is it, guys, to hear somebody go, yeah, no, I suck at that stuff. And you didn't say that, but like, right? Like, yeah, no, that's not in my wheelhouse. Yeah, I'm not good at that thing. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that thing. Like, that is like that type of situational and personal awareness and honesty is how business gets done. It's the faking and like, oh yeah, no, I'll get it done and never doing it. Oh yeah, I'll figure it out and never figuring it out. That is the greatest bottleneck in entrepreneurial innovation. But like, I love it when Whitney goes, yeah, no, I can't do that thing. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, who do we know that can? Right. And so it's like so refreshing to hear that, Sarah. I appreciated you saying that.
And I think you and Amy are similar leaders in the sense that you've given us space to say that. I think so oftentimes you get a situation where you don't want to admit weakness, right? And you don't really have a arena to be able to say I can't do it, or I don't know how to do it. And so you have to create a safe space, right? And you have to, I think that comes from you being vulnerable.
Well, you have to know your position is secure, even if you have to go to Amy and say, I'm not the person to handle that thing. Like, right? I can find the who, but I'm not the how. And so if you're constantly worried you're going to get fired, then like there's a problem, right? You have to have the space, the safety, knowing your position of integrator is safe, even if you're not the how for a certain problem.
Yeah, and I think for me, Amy too is very equally vulnerable with me. She admits when she doesn't know how to do something or where she's messed up, or if we've had a situation where maybe we disagreed on something, like she'll always be the first one to come back and admit where like she went wrong in a leadership respect. And like that obviously teaches me a lot about leadership too. So I think you don't have to be perfect as a leader, right? Like you're looking for someone to be almost, I feel like I'm an equal to Amy. And that's like oftentimes people come in with like a hierarchy structure. And I think that's so hard to work in when you are both trying to play equal roles in just different respects.
Yeah, and I would just add to what Joe said, because in my role, my job is to integrate on all of the things. And sometimes it is really easy to just say, yes, I'll handle that. And sometimes it is just a matter of, to what you guys are already saying, I'll just lend my give my check of approval too, because it is who's are really important. We're a who for Joe and Amy. We need the who's to do different things. Hence, we have other people in our organization to do certain things, or sometimes it's just out of the box, and we're having a VA, or we're having a software pick up something that used to be a body, something like that. But it is pretty crucial, and also it's really important for me to always pick up, or to, as often as I can, pick up what's not being said too. So I mentioned before, it's like when I get a sense of my the direction that Joe and Taylor are getting, or where they're leading without actually saying something, I take it upon myself to pick up on that and to be like, okay, something needs to be adjusted, or something was really great, let's do more of that. Or pull back on this. And so sometimes it's not verbally mentioned, but it lends to our 11 years together that I can do that. That takes time, and that takes a lot of working together. But it's also highly important for honesty. We talked about this before, but Joe knows this more than anybody, that I need my visionary to be very cut and dry with me. I need to know what's on their mind. I do not want to read between the lines when it comes to me. I don't want to know of, like, am I on par or am I not? And was he happy about what I did? Was he not? Or whatever the case is. And both Joe and Taylor are really good at this, but Joe really understands that I like to just be told, did I mess up? Okay, I know that. Did I do something well? I need less accolades than most, but it is really important, and it's really evolved, but the level of respect, I think, between the two of us is really amazing, but also really vital for a role
Yeah.
such as ours, because we're doing so many different things. But you can't have a really great ops person, admin, or integrator, whatever you want to call it, without trust and without respect. It won't go very far.
How do you
In my
think
opinion.
how do you think over the years, let's wrap on this topic of respect. Like, how do you think over the years that respect was, people say like, oh, respect is earned. How is it earned? Sarah or Whitney, can you weigh in on that?
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
sorry, Sarah.
No, you go ahead.
I think that it's line upon line. Respect is it's like similar to trust. And it takes me showing up every day. It takes him showing up every day for him to, it's probably better to visualize that respect and trust are built when things are not going great. It's when I mess up, or when I'm really disappointed in him, or whatever the case is, and how we overcome that. That's really what strengthens both of those categories. It's okay, well, I didn't get my feelings hurt just, in this situation. I'm here, and I'm committed to either even doing better, or to fulfilling something at a higher level, whatever the case is, and vice versa, I would say, with him. But nothing can really replace time in both of those categories, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just saw this really powerful thing by Brene Brown. She was on the Diary of a CEO podcast, and she's talking about how trust is earned in in the marble jar concept. And you guys can go find it on YouTube. But basically, it's like these micro actions that build trust over time is how we do it. And obviously, Amy and I and Joe, when you have a lot of reps, and it didn't sort of that. But then there were micro things. For instance, like Amy started to slowly give me agency to make decisions. Like I remember the first thing where she was like, "Please stop stop asking me every $25 charge like that you need to make? She's like, she just set like a monetary threshold. And she's like, if it's over that, ask me. If not, I trust you. And obviously that's really scary, especially when you're a new company and trying to like figure out where your expenses are running. But even her giving me that trust, I was like, whoa. Or like the first time I got a company bank card where I was like, this is a lot of decisions to give to one person. And now I'm at the point where like I have Amy's SIN, I have all of her information. And I think like I would.
It could take me down.
Yeah, but like, and the thing is, like, I would never, like, it's just like such a deep respect to know that someone would hold you with that authority and give you that kind of agency to be able to kind of control whatever element of the company that you need to be able to control. It gives you a lot of authority. You have to look for that type of personality when you're hiring. You're looking for someone that has shown trust and loyalty, but then also like deeply respects that and deeply understands. It also comes from Amy really sharing the vision. She is very open and honest with me, and we have often have conversation of the directions of a company, the direction of her growth plans, where there's no surprises, right? Like and it can be a bit of a roller coaster, right? Because the industry has been wild the past couple of years, and we both have different sentiments on where it should go and what we should do. But I think we're having those conversations together, and that feels really, really important to me. And I think that that's where we've built trust. And I also think one thing, it's kind of not related to trust, but I wanted to leave this call with is that you build the company how you want to build it. I think in the early years, Amy and I were prescribing to every real estate book and training plan of like, here's how to build a real estate team, or here's how to grow your personal real estate business, and building like trackers and softwares and anything to follow the model. And our best like hack came from when we were like, let's just scrap it. Like, Amy, you need a leaderboard for the team. What do you want to see? Like what data do you not care about? Because I'm not going to put it on there. How do you think? Let's build it like that. And so that would be my only advice too, is just build how you want to build and like ignore prescriptions on how to do things.
Whitney, do you have any parting comments as well from you and Joe?
Well, 1,000%. I can just ditto everything Sara said because we think similar. So much respect to your guys' operation over there. But I would say that everybody needs help in some way. And so figuring out what that help looks like, whether you're a solo agent and not even a visionary, but there's so many different options out there for everybody that especially this day and age with all the AI, with all of the other things, you guys have really great calls on all of these different topics. So figure out what that looks like for you. And yeah, in the beginning, it's really easy to subscribe to everything because you don't know what you don't know. And as you are doing all of this day in and day out, and when you show up committed to your goals and committed to your vision, then you get a little bit more insight every day, every week, and then you know what it is you're looking for. You know where you want to go, and stay on it. Get the who's when you're ready. Get the who's that you need, and while you're waiting, get the tech support that could help you alleviate the things that you're not good at, the things that you don't like doing. Because most of these people on this call are probably sales-minded, sales-driven. It's a different mindset. So just know your lane. And if you don't figure it out, ask yourself some questions.
And lean into what we've built here. Like, this is why we have calls like RocketFuel and why United Community exists. And I know there are amazing leaders. I can see faces on this call like Anthony Melafronte, Nestor Herrera. Like, I can see a lot, Jason O'Keefe. I can see a lot of amazing leaders on this call that would be willing to take a call with you if you were struggling in your business and wondering what's next. And I know Sara or Whitney would do the same, as would Joe or I. So we are out of time. So what I want to do is just first and foremost thank Whitney and Sara. Neither Joe nor I would be anywhere without either of you. So we are super grateful for both of you, and thank you for like just opening your hearts and and the skills that you've learned and everything that we figured out along the way to all of our listeners. Guys, it is US Thanksgiving next week, so a lot of you will be traveling next week, so we will not have Rocket Fuel on Monday, but then we will be back for a few weeks following following that before the holidays. And man, oh man, we've got some really great stuff planned between now and the time that we're going to take a couple of weeks off to recharge over the holiday season. So we will see you back again the week after next for Rocket Fuel right here, 9 Pacific, 12 Eastern time. In the meantime, feel free to connect with other members of our United community, jump into our Facebook group, grab the recording from today's session, and reach out if there's anything we can do for you. Have an amazing day, guys.